Welcome back to the channel. It has been a while. I've already done a setup video on the Tallman bass, and on this video I'm it's kind of a review, but there's a little tweaking involved. And that tweaking has made this bass so much better. So much better. And we'll get into that. So let's get into it. But before we do, thank you very much. That little subscription and thumbs up means a lot to a little YouTube squirt like me. Let's go. So here's the bass. It's been months since I bought this. I've barely played it. Here's where I have the action set. The neck is real straight. It was so high, if you remember how high it was. Here at the nut, here's the 12th fret. The neck is really straight. I have the neck set really straight on it. I like the tuners, are pretty good. Obviously not the best tuners in the world, but they're fine for this. I like the bridge, it's pretty decent. I think it sounds pretty good. A lot of bass. You know, when I had this next to a Fender Jazz bass, it had so much more bass. Oh my gosh. Of course, it's a short scale and they can tend to be pretty bassy, boomy, bottom end. Yeah, this is a decent instrument, but only after a setup. It was pretty much terrible out of the box. And it had a couple of screws that weren't even screwed down. But for just a cheap bass, I like it. Not too much neck dive, a little bit, but nothing to really get too worried about at all. So yeah, this is a cool bass. I was thinking about putting some half wounds on it, which are like a kind of like between flat and between round. So I've had this set of strings laying around for a long time and I've never used them. Here they are here, long scale too. But yeah, I might put them on. When I was a kid, my brother, he had quite a few Gretches. He had a Streamliner, not all at once. He only ever had one at once, but excuse me, he had a Streamliner, he had a Nashville, he had a Tennessean, then he had a Country Gentleman, which he still owns. And my dad had a Harmony. It had a neck pickup, and it didn't have any cutaways, acoustic. And I remember that guitar had the lowest action. It was so super low. And the Gretches had good action too. They all had flat wound strings. When I was a kid, I never seen anybody play round wound strings. You know, of course, I think that came out in the later 70s. I mean, they had them earlier, but you didn't really see round wound strings till I think the later 70s. Definitely the 80s was round wound strings. So yeah, I might throw these on there because I don't think I'm getting any long scale basses anytime soon. And we'll see how that works with this bass. Okay, I put the half rounds on and I'm having trouble with this A string because you can see the threads from the adjustment for the intonation. It's can't go any farther. But I mean, look at the E. It had to go all the way till the spring was totally compressed. But this one can't. I'll put it next to it. Let's see. You can see, look how much that screw sticks out. This makes no sense. I don't get it. It's like I need a shorter screw so I can get it to come back more to get the intonation on. I'll see if I have something, but I don't know. Okay, now this Fender Squier, that machine screw, look at it's that much shorter and it's the same thread. So I'm going to put that little short screw in there so I can get this intonation set right. So putting these half round strings on has achieved two things for this bass. the one thing about this bass is it never, a lot of times it just didn't sound in tune. And I had it intonated as, I mean, spot on, but it just didn't play in tune. You'd play a G and you look at the tuner and it'd be sharp. Now, when you play, especially on the E string, it's when you look at the tuner and you can hear it, it's way more in tune. It's way more in tune. And the second thing is the action has gone down considerably. Here's the measurements before. Like here's the E string at the 12th fret and the A and the D and the G. So the action is much lower. To me, it seems like I could definitely lower the action at the nut a little bit. I might do that, but I'm going to hold off for now. Yeah, these strings have really helped the playability and the intonation. All right, final thoughts on the Tallman bass. Without the setup work, it's crappy. It is. Without all, remember how high the action was? I do have a setup video of this. The action was so high at the nut, it was terrible. Had this horrible high fret. I had to work it more than once to get the frets leveled. Because of one down here, it didn't really take. The tuners are pretty decent. The bridge is pretty decent. I mean, it sounds good now. Now it sounds in tune. And I have never seen a set of strings change how an instrument sounds so much than this. Obviously, it sounds, a lot warmer because it has almost, I mean, they're almost flat wounds. There's semi-flat, but they're, it's closer to flat wounds than it is round wounds, really. But before these strings were on, this bass never sounded in tune. It always sounded flat. It just did. I'd play the E open, it would be in tune. I'd play the E at the 12th fret. It was spot on with the tuner, but up and down the fretboard, it wouldn't sound good. And this stays on all the time, right? This little zoom, which was an awesome little unit. And so the tuner is always working. But the one thing I did notice, make sure this thing is in tune. Whenever I would play notes, they would never be in tune. So here, I got to use just my left hand, so it must be a little tricky. You see the three lights are on. It's in tune. It would always be like that always. But now, and no matter where you play, I mean, there might be one where it won't be totally in tune, but before it was like almost none would be in tune. So now when you play this bass, it just sounds way better now. It's because it's actually in tune, and it's wild that bass strings could do that. And remember how much I had to move this saddle? Look at the spring. And on this one, I had to get a shorter screw to get the saddle to go back enough to intonate with these strings. I don't know the difference in gauge between these strings and the original ones. I can tell you there's a lot more tension. There's a lot more string tension now with those. But once it's all set up, I like the bass. It's a nice bass. I think it looks really cool. I don't think it has that much neck dive that would be an issue. I mean, if you take your hands off it with a strap, it might go down a little bit. But I mean, a lot of guitars do that, but you don't really notice anything when you're playing them. I mean, you're holding the neck, your elbow, your forearms down here. So that's not really an issue with it. I like it sounds good. I think it's a pretty cool bass. But always remember, that's after a lot of work's been done to it. So yeah, that's the video for today. And I'm just shocked that strings could make this thing sound in tune, because it just sure did. The strings that they had on it, I don't know what would cause that to be intonated, but then to be all, off all the way up the fretboard. Now, you play up high and it sounds good. So that's the video for today. I hope you liked it, and if it did something for you, if you learned something, you could hit the like and subscribe. That'd be great. And we'll try to crank out some more videos. So take care, and I will see you next time.